Good morning, fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to our next edition of the Upper Deck from Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Lynn, and with me is my partner in crime, Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Lynn.
So we got a good agenda going on for this morning. Lots to talk about. You want to start us off?
Oh yeah, I mean it feels like when the week is going and the information is trickling in like nothing's happening, but actually a bunch of stuff is happening. For one thing, the MLB and the MLBPA met on Thursday. This was a momentous occasion or not? What do you think?
It was momentous in the fact that it's been more than a month since they've spoken to each other. I think December 8th was the last time. And so last week we talked about the chatter about that. Like, what's going on? Is this bad news? Is something being kept from even the press? So it's encouraging that something happened. And yeah, let's talk about that thing. That's something.
Well, what did happen? I mean, is anything going forward that you see?
So the interesting thing is that what they didn't discuss on December 8th and really hadn't discussed since November was the economics of the agreement.
Okay.
And so and that was the focus on Thursday of the talks. And, all signs point to that meeting pretty much being a nothing burger.
Yeah.
The MLBPA walked away unhappy. And the question is, who's going to give and when?
Right.
And so where that's at now is we're waiting for the response back to the proposal.
Exactly. That's what we're waiting. We're waiting to see what the MLBPA counters will.
And we need them not to drag their heels on the response.
Right. And as I tweeted out this week, why aren't they doing this 24/7?
Exactly.
Get this freaking done.
Exactly. We're 20 something. I didn't do the math. It was 35 last week, so 33. No, 23.
Right.
You guys know how to do the math. Yeah. But point is, it's tomorrow. Pitchers and catchers are supposed to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And these have to start happening weekly, multiple times a week. So they both got to get their, heels out of the mud and get their job done.
Exactly.
So
Don said that definitely spring training starting is in peril. Starting on time is probably not going to happen unless something would miraculously break maybe this week.
Yeah, and I think, and I'm encouraging anyone listening, it's time to get really vocal on Twitter about this.
Yeah.
I know that we're all kind of lulled into nothing happening, and posting about that. Well, we're bored, so do something about it.
Yeah.
I think if we more than daily, tag them in tweets and let them know, the more of us, the better, how frustrated we are about the pace of this, or lack thereof.
Don't buy tickets. Wait until there's an agreement.
Exactly.
If you're going to Yankee Stadium this year, plan your trip, but wait. Don't encourage that, owners.
Right.
Put money in their pockets right now.
Exactly. Like the nerve of them for, talking about sales in their tweets and grab your tickets and grab your seats.
Right.
That's some balls.
And sending season ticket holders emails with reminders and that sort of thing. Yeah.
So if I was a season ticket holder, I know what I'd be saying in response. So that's the thing. I think it's time for, grassroots action, time to
Yeah.
mobilize and start our own protest about this and let them know we're holding them accountable.
Right.
The fan base have been really quiet. And that's not like us. So let's do the damn thing, everybody.
Yeah, let's get vocal out there.
That's right.
Encourage the MLB and MLBPA to come to the table, get the thing done.
That's
I need baseball, you need baseball. So let's get there. I mean, it's
Starbucks. So
like, this is the way I feel now. The disappointment in everything is nothing compared to what I'm going to feel a month from now when pitchers and catchers don't report when they're supposed to. My heart will sink.
That's right. That's right. And so that's why it's time to get vocal now, so that build it. The later we're waiting for any news, and I think Hassan's right. I think it's clear that we're at peril for the pacing that's supposed to lead up to opening day.
Right.
And so, now we're back into a season, a different kind of season. And we don't want that. We want every day we need to not be in the wild card again.
Yes.
Right. So we have to be clear on that, clear on what we want, and just keep pushing them. Yep. Because without us, they don't need to even be at the table.
Exactly. Without us, there is no game.
Exactly.
There's no financial gain in it if there's no fans. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and not only that, but the shorter the time period gets, the more concerned I become about the moves that the Yankees have to make before they can field a team, in my opinion, for the 2022 season. I mean,
that's right.
Cashman has come out and said, we need a shortstop. I'm not making that up. So what do you think of the needs? What do we need when the lockout ends? The Yankees got to get moving, but what do we need?
Well, we talked about that a lot last week, and we, so crickets are going to chirp on that, and we're not going to, and so that's another casualty of the longer these talks go, because, the Yankees did not do their job before the lockout, and they're not going to spend money until this is settled.
Right.
And then it's going to be a mad dash to fill the holes.
Right.
So, we know that the infield needs work. We know, and the buzz from our fellow fans has been, they're not so concerned about center field as much as we talked about it last week. Right. Catcher remains at issue.
Yeah.
And we always need more pitching.
Right.
In
first place.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. The entire infield. So those are the major holes, and we need to have a bench behind us.
Yeah.
So there's holes there as well.
I think, and this might be off topic a little bit, but I think that in light of what you're saying, the international signings that the Yankees made yesterday, when they were allowed to do so, were interesting because they signed 2 shortstops and 2 catchers.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there was also a pitcher in there somewhere. I know they signed Manny Banuelos.
Yeah, it was 2 shortstops and 2 catchers.
Yeah.
So prospects are important. They're the investment in the future.
Yeah.
But we already have 38 prospects waiting.
Yeah.
So we keep putting money in the prospect bank, and it's cheaper. I get that, and investment matters, and the hope always is with any investment it'll pay off in dividends, but there's also a risk, and so I hope that they did the right risk assessment and the right valuation and projections on them.
Right.
But yeah, we're talking about, and by the way, two Venezuelas, but at least one's a shortstop and one's a catcher, so that'll help. But there's some solid existing prospects, some of which have even seen the stadium. Heel remains in the prospects, for example. And they also have Cabrera, who has seen AAA, and he's a shortstop. So I'm hoping that they look at him. Should spring training happen anytime now?
Right. Maybe he'll get a spring training invite, but
right.
He didn't play too much in AAA last year.
No, he did not.
He hasn't had a lot of experience there.
Right.
Which is why it does concern me that there are people out there saying we don't need a shortstop because we have these guys like Cabrera, obviously, like Volpe in the pipeline. So why don't we just, sign a stopgap? And, that makes my blood just boil.
Yeah, it absolutely. And, even Peraza, they're saying maybe this season they'll bring him up, most likely taxi squad. But Volpe to me is part of the longer list of really waiting.
Right.
He has a solid, I think 2 years left before, before he'll likely be ready. So that's what I mean. We have this, it's almost like having, an IRA that you can't touch.
Yeah. Well, that kind of raises another issue that I just thought of. Do you think that Cashman holds on to prospects sometimes to the point where they lose their value to other, in a for trade? Do you think that happens sometimes?
I think he's probably that smart and crafty in thinking like that. I also wonder if they're just like baseball cards, and when he needs to do a great trade, he tosses them in. I'll give you two Venezuelas if you give me.
Well, I did see someone speculating yesterday that the acquiring the shortstops might be a way of turning them around in a trade for talent elsewhere. So I don't know if that's even, remotely a possibility as to why they would, go after two more shortstops in the international market, or if that, it's good practice to have shortstops who can work the infield, pretty much moving around.
But then aren't they sort of limited in who they can make that kind of proposal to? Because again,
probably.
I don't know. It's kind of a rhetorical question. The kids we got yesterday, if they were to be automatically, attached to a deal, if we ever see a real deal,
right?
Ashman, it has to be with a team of a like mind. It seems to me, like, we want that stable.
Yeah.
And we want to plant that garden, but it's going to take 4 years to harvest.
Yep.
If they potential turn to what we need. So, it's the up in the air of it, I think, that has me frustrated. Sounds like we're on the same page with that.
I think so, yeah.
And I feel pretty confident that, most of the fan base, the hardcore fan base, feels the same way, at least as it relates to, stop throwing these, George Washingtons to build up this stable and focus more on the Benjamins and, let's go already.
Right. I mean, in my humble opinion, when they choose their shortstop for opening, for whoever they're going to choose, whether it be Correa, Story, Simmons, whatever, that's going to tell us the direction that the team is going for 22. That's the bellwether sort of what's going to happen, whether we're going for a World Series or whether it's another year where it's simply good enough to, appear in the wild card.
Right. And that's another core frustration of us,
Yeah.
right? Is that complacency.
Right.
And from their angle, hey, they're still getting their money. They're getting their royalties. They're getting, the tickets. They're getting, chicken bucket, profit, and so forth. So,
Yeah.
It's that mentality that's driving, the frustrating pace or lack thereof that was going on before the lockout.
Right.
Chris, what do you think? So speaking of complacency, what do you think about the possibility or probability that Olsen won't be offered, given an offer, given a proposal, and we're back with Voigt?
Yeah, the thing is, I do not trust this ownership. I do not trust that they will spend money like we want them to. I've never forgiven them for the year that Harper and Machado were both available. And I spent the whole off season with my stomach in knots, hoping that we would land one of those two big fishes, reel them in. And so I learned my lesson from that, to back off and try to be realistic about what I think the Yankees' aims and, what they're. But now this season, I think it's very difficult to, see into the future with your crystal ball, because we're stuck in the damn lockout.
Right.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and we know Rizzo's willing and has, is very positive about being signed again.
Yep.
And how long will Rizzo wait around? And Olsen, the longer we wait, tick-tock. As soon as this is settled, if it's in our lifetimes,
yeah,
everyone is going to run to Olsen, Story,
yes,
etc.
Freddie Freeman.
Yes.
Which Freddie Freeman doesn't even, to me, that doesn't even enter into the conversation, because I'd be shocked if the Yankees went after Freddie Freeman. But if they did land him, that I would say hallelujah. But then we would end up with, shortstop would definitely not be Carlos Correa in that case.
Right. Good point.
The money would have been spent, but anyway.
Right. So, and I think the Yankees owe you an apology for your stomach troubles over this. Maybe you need to be reimbursed for
exactly, for my anxiety medication.
But the truth is, the fan base haven't ever been really good at managing expectations in a healthy way.
Yeah, that's the understatement. You're right.
So, there's no coping statement there, and there's no way to relieve us of that, at least the hardcore of us. But that's to our detriment. But maybe we like that. What else would we talk about if we were
exactly?
If we're like, okay, what will be will be. But yeah, and I just think it's, we're all talking about how bored we are, but the undercurrent there is, I can only speak for me, how frustrated we are.
Yeah.
And it's time to use that frustration.
Yeah.
That'll ease some of the knots if you just get it out. It will serve a purpose.
Right.
But very dark winter so far.
And I back to the original question of Voigt. would I be sad to see Voit at first? Not really. I mean, I didn't think he was a home run king, for God's sakes. You know, are we forgetting that? Yeah, I mean, 2020 was a weird year, but it still, it's like people who say WAR doesn't matter or batting average doesn't matter. 2020 doesn't matter. Well, it matters to Luke Voit, who was the home run king that year. And maybe last year, like DJ, he never got healthy, never got to the point where he felt good and played like Luke Voit. I don't know. But, you know, if the worst thing that happens is we get Correa and we're stuck with Voit, I could live with that.
Yeah. Offensively, I could live with it.
Yeah.
I just think during spring training, I would hope that, you know, he'll need a lot of coaching still on, you know, his handling at first.
Right. Yeah.
And so, and truthfully, maybe he just needs more time to get comfortable for the reason he said. And I think every year he grows up a little bit more too. And I think the Rizzo competition last year, hopefully it put a fire in his belly, and it seemed to, at least, especially towards the end when he really, you know, hadn't been used as much for sure. It's just a matter of, you know, how long will that fire stay in him?
Right.
And so I just don't like being unsettled. I want to know the 40 man. Yeah. I want the starter rotation, you know, figured out and established, you know, and I think there's still questions about the starting rotation, even though you know, we know the 5 that have been floating around. Yeah. But I also know that there's some hesitation over Sevy. You know, and so that's, you know, not from a skill level, but again, because of the horrendous injuries that he had, and not being back all that long from those injuries. Right. So should he be, you know, in the starting rotation? I think that's a question.
Or should he be the number 2? Which is why there's a lot of people out there who believe the Yankees should be, you know, shopping for a number 2. You know, that possibly someone like Voit, you know, or even Gleyber Torres could be shopped for a starting pitcher. Right. I don't know. I mean, what is your thought about Gleyber Torres? I mean, he ended the season as the second baseman, if I'm not mistaken. It's obvious that he can't be in the shortstop. I think that they definitely had a vote of lack of confidence in him by last year. But is he really a better second baseman? Does he offer the better option there?
No.
Not on this team.
No. I think DJ's feet are firmly planted on the second base bag.
I hope so.
And should be. You know, I'm easing up on my opinion a bit about Gleyber, because we all know, I think we all know, that he has potential, that we saw glimmers of, but he hasn't really found his niche. And what that is, I don't know, but I would love for him to be a Brett Gardner this season. I think that would be a good fit for him. Right. Because, you know, he has some experience at second. He has some experience at shortstop, although he was moved to second for a reason. You know, but have him on the bench to, you know, fill in for those if needed, fill in, you know, in a pinch runner, pinch hitter situation when needed. Right. So maybe I'm easing up a bit on the trade.
Right. I don't know what they're going to do with Gleyber. I mean, whatever certainly wherever he goes, I see every potential for him to break out and be the star that the Yankees, continue to hope he will be, and that he probably will be one day. But he's got to find a position. And maybe if they do have the universal DH, you think is that a route that Glaber could go? I mean, is he got enough offense to?
Well, we've certainly seen it.
Right.
But, you know, the consistency will be the issue. You
Right.
know, it will have to be tested out.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, that's another, you know, utility factor that could be put for him, you know? And I think you and I made it very clear last week that we want Gio Urshela to stay where he is.
Yeah.
So that's another hanging question. You know, so welcome to the speculation episode.
Exactly. Welcome to, pull the names out of a hat. I mean, Matt Chapman is going to be a luxury as well if the Yankees are able to trade to bring him. I mean, you know, there's just all these, it's like people want to trade nothing and end up getting back Olsen, Chapman. You know, it's not going to happen. There's not going to be this haul of all-stars that come in and you know, range around the Yankee infield next year. We're going to have some compromise. And Gio, you know, again, just like Voit, he's been a reliable on offense and defense for us. Now, maybe last year wasn't that year as much as previously, but again, I think injuries probably had a lot to do with that for him as well.
Absolutely. And are they considering that a liability?
Yeah.
You know, in which case, in fairness, then the same should go for Sevy. The same should you know, Hicks.
Hicks.
You know, is a liability.
What are they? Hicks.
You know, despite what we've known about him and I think still know about him, you know, he has a history behind him.
Yeah.
And I think that was the issue with Tyon and drawing a blank before coffee. The perfect game guy.
Oh, Kluber.
Oh my Lord.
Kluber.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we certainly have a lot of wealth when it comes to the IL. That's wealth I'd like to see given away. Not to individuals, but, you know, don't care if it's lost, you know, toss that money to the winds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Chris, I think that also, you know, we had a great segment last week about fan buzz.
Yeah.
And for me, it was crickets a bit.
Well, it was crickets, and then there was a little bit of buzz about Joey Gallo leading off. Being who was it? I forget who it was that said the Yankees proposed that the Yankees should think about start Gallo leading off because he gets on base so often. So there was a little buzz about that and some definite opinions, both sides of that. Now, for me, I don't want to see Gallo leading off because I don't want to see him striking out. I don't care. How often does he get on base? Well, he strikes out a lot too. That's going to be a frustration right there for me, just every game.
Yes, 100%. And he admits it, and he's stating that he won't change.
Yeah.
That if the team needs a long ball striker, that's what he's gonna do, and it's his assessment that that's the need he's filling, and that's what the team needs.
Right. But, you know, play him in the sevens, put him in the 7th spot or something, not down in the order. I mean, Hicks obviously was our leadoff man last year before he went down for the season. They don't have a true leadoff man. Do you want to see DJ back in the leadoff role?
Based on last year, no.
Yeah, based on last year, no. He was frustrating to watch because didn't he ground out like it seemed like every other play? He was grounding out.
And those ground outs, I mean, I don't have hard stats on this. This is just my observation. He swung it and made contact with the first pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Almost all the time.
Okay.
And maybe that's a little bit hyperbolic for me to say.
Yeah.
But and hence resulting in these, nothing burger hits.
Yeah.
So and DJ, clearly, again, I haven't spoken to him recently. But Deej, as I like to call him, Deej, it's very evident that he's very hard on himself. And when we're cursing at him, he's cursing double, triple to inside himself. His cute little cheeks get red, and he's angry and stomping back to the dugout. So I would imagine he's working on that in ways he can during lockout. And, but I don't think starting off that, at the beginning of the season, especially, no. And you're right. So then who? We want Judge, to stay high in the order, but when there's probability of men already being on base, and so DJ might be a good number 5, and so which could potentially, I mean, there's always the potential to be the starting hitter at the top of innings, but
there's always the potential if DJ comes back hitting, that we wouldn't mind him hitting leadoff if he comes back and he's connecting. But I think too, and I think just in defense of DJ, because I'm a big DJ fan.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, he was hurt. He had surgery after the season. I don't even remember what it was. Now, do you? But he was injured, and he didn't have the year he wanted to have. And I don't think he was healthy in the ways that he usually is.
Right. So, yeah, absolutely. And so hopefully that's behind him now too.
Right.
And I think to that end also, I would hope that our guys are using this lockout time to do their own spring training.
Yeah.
Spend some of those dineros on, hiring your own coaches and doing your own sims and, go beyond the gym and work, review the games from last year.
Yeah.
Good, bad, and ugly for you and work on those.
Yeah.
Because, spring training is going to be a gift to the length that we have it.
Right.
So,
yep.
Hopefully they're doing their homework.
Hopefully they are. One thing that when we were talking about Gleyber Torres that came up this week that was kind of funny if you think about Gleyber, and that is that the Orioles are moving the fences out in Camden Yards at Orioles Park. And so I don't know what that would do for Gleyber's average if he's a Yankee next year, because, he has those amazing numbers against the Orioles.
Yeah. I thought of him like I'm sure everyone did.
Right, immediately.
Right away. It took the Orioles a long time to catch on to that idea. Maybe we should revisit our dimensions.
Yeah, well, it's cheaper than buying starting pitching.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. Or developing starting pitching, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So I think that was all of my top of minds for the week.
We didn't talk about the women, the achievements of girl power this week.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I almost forgot. I mean, I know that everybody's talking about it. It's all over. But you know what? We've waited all our lives to talk about it. So go ahead.
Australia, I just love you. Personally, as an educator, Australia has led the way in so many areas, including education. and so now we see it with sports. And I just really hope, and there's some encouraging signs of it on the Yankee end. But we need that to catch on fire here. I think, I know I plan on following her. I think we should continue to talk about her here every week, and see how it goes for her. And hopefully, it'll be a "see, we told you so." That we could also use to, hopefully start seeing it here.
Hey, it's not impossible for an Australian baseball player to make their way into the major leagues. She's 17. By the time she's 21, maybe she'll be ready to come over to the U.S. and show us how it's done.
Yes. Wow. I mean, that's a dream that it seems like the impossible dream right now.
It does seem like the impossible.
The possibility and the fact that we could even talk about that.
Right.
Is really exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up when girls just didn't play baseball. There wasn't girls softball. It wasn't part of a school curriculum. Now, I remember when I was in middle school, they finally, I guess Title IX, as it's called, went through, and we finally were able to play basketball and volleyball,
right.
But on our own teams. We did not co-ed stuff.
Right.
That wasn't that, so I didn't even know to dream to play baseball. I wish I had.
Yeah, and I mean, we could go really broad on this. I think, I shouldn't say think. I hope that the movement our country is making towards inclusivity.
Yes.
Much of which has had gender at the core.
Yeah.
However, gender is defined by each of us. But we've seen a lot of movement in traditional institutional settings where that's happening in meaningful ways.
Yes.
So, hopefully that will bleed in faster and faster into professional sports and overall.
Yeah.
But of course, we're talking about baseball.
Yeah. And this week, the Yankees made history with their hiring of Rachel Balkovec.
Yes.
For the Tampa Tarpons managerial position. And again, fireworks for girl power. Rachel Balkovec is just an amazing, I've seen interviews with her. She's articulate, she's smart, she's personable. She's everything that you would hope you would see in a leader of young men, obviously. And her resume is so impressive. As I did some background research on her, this is not her first rodeo. I mean, she actually, speaking of Australian baseball, she was over in the Australian Baseball League doing some managing over there before at one time. So there's a link there as well. She's amazing. She learned Spanish in order to communicate better with the players when she was assigned to the Dominican League. What else can we say about her?
Nothing much, other than we started this show talking about prospects.
Yeah.
And now she's a major part of prospects list. Not in the context of players, obviously, but let's hope this is the beginning and she rises through the farm system as manager, and every step's a little bit closer.
Right. She's important, and that the Yankee, that she has the qualities of leadership, and because they're entrusting the development of their young players to this woman. I mean, low A Tampa or whatever, that's a stepping stone, for them to get to launch up to the higher levels.
That's the pre-K of the farm system. And so
Yeah.
that's where you teach the rules, you teach about, doing unto others as you do unto them, but also, sportsmanship,
Professionalism.
Yeah. And that's right. And so I would think that she'd be bringing the balance of, coaching straight up, managing and putting in those expectations about the game, but also balancing it out with values, ethics, team building, accountability, shared and individual. That's needed at all levels, including the big leagues.
Right.
That's really needed. But she gets them at the beginning. So that early intervention, boy, I'm showing my educator cards today.
Yes, you have, definitely.
That's everything. Get them there, wire their brains, and put that in their core. The expectations and the Yankee organization and dynasty.
The Yankee way.
As it remains and may it continue to be so. And then we have a better likelihood of keeping them.
Right. Yeah, of them developing into the elite players that we believe they have the talent to be.
Yes.
So she'll be molding and shaping them. It's an important role for a woman in a baseball organization.
Yes.
And last but not least today, I don't want to leave out the retirement of Melky Cabrera. Say goodbye to the 2009 World Series champs. Melky's one of the last, or maybe not one of the last, but the remaining members of that, it must be dwindling.
Yeah, and he was, well, first of all, Melky was really adored across the fan base.
We loved him.
And we loved him because, we liked him, but we also loved him because he contributed.
Yeah.
Consistently, in season, postseason.
Yeah.
And so, this is what comes with aging. You lose those, I don't think he rises to the icon level, but you lose people that you really admire and remember and love looking at, replay games.
Right.
And remembering him, and what he did and why we loved him. And so, yes, I think, I can't name names. I don't know who remains. But certainly, when you think of the 2009 team, a good chunk of them, are enjoying their retirement.
Yeah, we used to love to go and sit in the right field. When the one time when I sat in right field and Melky was playing, and it was so fun the whole time yelling, "The milkman delivers!" The milkman! We loved him. And he responded. I mean, it was fun. He was a great guy. That was before Judge was roaming right field,
Right.
But anyway, so.
Oh, well, Melky, I know you're listening because.
Yeah, because why not?
Yeah, I mean, Melky promised me when we spoke a couple of weeks ago that.
Well, goodbye to Melky. And that's a wrap for me today. I really appreciate you joining us. Lynn, I'll leave it up to you to.
Yes. Okay, so don't forget to share the link when we share it with you. Sharing is caring. So please, retweet. Don't forget to subscribe to the PinstripeChronicles channel, where you'll see the episodes from our amazing male colleagues.
Right.
Which are daily during the week, and certainly Chris and me every Sunday. And just remember that we have a reserved seat for you every Sunday in the upper deck. So see you next week, and thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.